Good morning and welcome. Welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. I am Worship Associate Xina Kingshill, and I am joined today by Worship Associate Sandy Atkins. Our minister, the Reverend Dana Warsnop, is out of the pulpit for the summer, so we are pleased to present the first of our summer cluster services, prepared by the ministers of our cluster congregations of the Central Coast. Our service today has been prepared by Reverend Rod Richards of the Unitarian Universalists San Luis Obispo and adapted by yours truly. Reverend Rod has participated in previous summer cluster services and has often been a guest in our pulpit. In his own words, when talking about his congregation, he says, "I am Rod Richards, proud and pleased to serve as minister of this congregation. I say that most every Sunday in my opening words, and it also holds true on the rest of the days of each week that has passed since I was first called to be minister here in 2012. It's nice to know another congregation has a well-loved minister, isn't it? We are grateful to have Rev Rod with us today through the miracle of our current day technologies. So no matter how you are joining us today in person or via the wonders of technology, whether you walked, rolled, skipped, or danced into the sanctuary, we are glad you are here. We are a community of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. All are welcome here. And we preface our service by acknowledging that our building rests on the unceded ancestral homelands of the Chumash people. May we cherish our connections to this land and to all of its peoples. So there are a few announcements today. Be sure to stop by the the vote table in Berg Hall after the service today to help get out the vote in the swing states in this year's election. Very important. Complete as many letters as you have the energy and time to do today, and take some home too if you wish. See Ruth Owens and Amy Dobzinski to take action today. And the Green Room Gallery is changing up on July 28th. If you have art in the gallery, please pick it up by that date. If you have something you want to display, please submit an application by July 21. So this time, by popular demand, we are planning to reserve one wall to display the work of Jenny Snyder, who was the caretaker artist in residence of the Terry House when our church met up on Foothill Boulevard. This is one of her paintings. Jenny painted a series of stove paintings at this Terry House, one of which hangs permanently in the Green Room. If you have a painting done by Jenny and would be willing to share it with the congregation during our next exhibit, please contact Celia Ortenberg. The exhibit will run from July 28th through the end of December. Please see UUCV this week for more information. Details of all of these and other things happening here at UUCV are in our weekly email bulletin, UUCV This Week. Now, enter with me into this sacred space. Bring with you what is yours, a burdened heart, a joyous song, a wearied spirit, a seeking mind. Bring the gift of yourself to the altar. It is an honorable gift. Let us enter sacred space.
I'm Worship Associate Sandy Atkins, wishing you a beautiful Sunday here in the sanctuary or wherever you're joining us. We invite those who are Zooming or streaming in to light a chalice or a candle at home as Xina lights the chalice of our free faith here in the sanctuary. The words for today's chalice lighting are by Jeremy Lent. When members of the Native American Blackfoot tribe meet each other, they don't ask, "How are you?" Instead, they ask, "How are the connections?" We light our chalice in celebration of our connections. Today's call to worship is by Rosemary Watola Trummer. And if it's true we are alone, we're alone together, the way blades of grass are alone but exist as a field. Sometimes I feel it, the green fuse that ignites us, the wild thrum that unites us, an inner hum that reminds us of our shared humanity. Just as 35 trillion red blood cells join in one body to become blood, just as 136,000 notes make up one symphony. Alone as we are, our small voices weave into the one big conversation. Our actions are essential to the one infinite story of what it is to be alive. When we feel alone, we belong to the grand communion of those who sometimes feel alone. We are the dust that hopes, a rising of dust, a thrill of dust, the dust that dances in the light, and with all other dust, the dust that makes the world. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, everyone. So Reverend Carolyn is off the bench today. I'm Zachary Spencer. We'll be singing number 318, We Would Be as One, We Would Be One. I invite you all to rise in spirit or physically as you are able, whether you are here in the chapel or whether you're joining us through some means of electronic wizardry. Here we go. We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are, of what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
My My name is Lily Rappaport, the Director of Family Ministry, and I'm going to call all those young or young at heart to come up front and join me for the story. So today's about intersections. Do we ever cross the street and look at intersections? What do they say when you're crossing the street? To look both ways. So today's story is going to be talking about seeing with two eyes. The story is called Walking Together. It's a First Nations story written by Elder Albert Marshall and Louise Zamani, illustrated by Emily Kiwag-Eshtig. So why do you think the people on the cover are walking on a turtle's back? Do you think that they want to walk real fast and get to their place as soon as possible? Oh, so probably they want to take their time when they're walking together wherever it is that they're going. And why would you want to do that? So you don't get lost, and maybe you can be aware of everything that's going around. And in the story, key concept is that nature is our teacher. So the words and the images of this book offer a Mikwak perspective of two-eyed seeing, which is the gift of having multiple perspectives, being able to see indigenous knowledge and ways of seeing the world with one eye, and Western knowledge with the other. So acknowledging both ways are valuable and benefit all living things now and for future generations. When we walk together in a good way, we learn to see the world through two eyes. We receive the gifts of Mother Earth through stories. When we walk together in a good way, things are revealed. We hear those who are returning and those who stayed, singing the lands and water awake after a deep rest. When we walk together in a good way on Turtle Island, we learned we are all connected. And I learned that Turtle Island is North America. Okay. We are never alone. We need each other. Mawak Waik. Together, we are strong. When we walk together in a good way, we learn about the gifts and stories of our family, of the lands and of the waters, those who were here before us and those who will be here after us. When we walk in a good way, we learn the language of the land. When we walk together in a good way, we give back gifts by taking care of our family. We leave things where they are. We only take if there is enough. We ask before we take, and we listen for the answer. We share. We sing the Mother Earth song. We say, thank you. We layan migwach. When we walk together in a good way, we go to what we love. We go to what we need. Water, stick, rock, and frog. When we walk together in a good way, frog is one of our teachers. We wait, listen, and watch for frog near the ponds. We breathe in the stillness. When we walk together in a good way, things are revealed. We hear frog croaking. We see frog. Frog watches us. We speak frog. When we walk together in a good way, we listen to a story about frog. He lives in muddy water and has wrinkly skin. He did not share the gift of flowing water with the people and the animals. Ruby-throated hummingbird, wild daisies, flowing river, and sunning turtle are also our teachers. When we walk together in a good way, we share wonder, and we wander and play. Watching stories, we weave and tell new stories in circle under the willow. The stories of the water and the lands and the teachings of the flyers, the crawlers, the swimmers, and the four-legged grow inside us. Like flossy milkweed seeds, they are carried on the winds for future generations. When we walk together in a good way, we remember Ma'iwak. Together we are strong. When we take care of the land and the land and the water take care of us. Just like the braided sweet grass, we are stronger together. When we walk together in a good way, we learn to know the world through two eyes. So today, when you walk alone or together, take a moment to breathe in the space around you, to see your journey through two eyes. And also, what is nature teaching you? So we will now form a bridge of love in the center aisle here. Stand as you are able and willing, creating a bridge of love. And we're going to walk through this bridge of love, seeing with two eyes.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
I hope you all saw those kids with your two eyes. Each Sunday, this congregation gives away our collection to an organization in the larger community, or to funds that help people in our own church. Those at home have two ways to give: through the link posted in the chat, or by texting from your phone at the number that will show on the screen. Folks who are present in the sanctuary can text to give, or you can still write a check or give cash and then drop it in the donation box that's at the back of the sanctuary at the end of the service. Our offering today goes to Buddy Nation to help care for the animals who live with our homeless neighbors, especially when they are unable to care for the animals themselves. Blue, who is pictured here, came to the attention of our Buddy Nation volunteers as a dog who needed to be rescued and brought to safety. Blue was tied up in an unheated van with no food or water, and the tip of his tail had been cut off. The van was parked by itself near some railroad tracks in Oxnard, while the people who had him were in a nearby motel. Buddy Nation volunteers arrived with Eric, a dog trainer who specializes in pit bulls and German shepherds. And though Blue was cautious and afraid, Eric persuaded Blue to get in their car. Buddy Nation supporters paid for Blue's boarding at the Canine Adoption and Rescue League in Santa Paula. And Buddy Nation volunteers went daily to walk and play with him. Blue's tail was treated, and he was neutered and microchipped this week. Blue has had a lot of bad things happen to him in his 2 years, but only good things are ahead of him now. The folks at Buddy Nation are confident Blue will find a loving home and that a good life awaits this sweet dog. Thanks for giving generously, as you always do. Thank you, Zach. And thank you, everyone. We are so grateful for the generosity of this congregation, which helps us weave a tapestry of love and connection that we call community.
Now's the time in our service where we hold up the great joys and sorrows that grace our lives. We place stones in water for both the celebrations and sorrows in our hearts, making ripples that are felt throughout our community. I invite you now to speak into the gathered community or write into the Zoom chat the names of those you wish to celebrate or memorialize, or those in need of the loving embrace of this community. Xina will now place one final stone in the water for all the joys and sorrows yet unspoken in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life.
I invite you all to remain seated as we sing number 168, One More Step, as our meditation hymn. One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us, and everyone will take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word, till every word is heard by everyone. We'll take one more word. One more prayer, we will say one more prayer, till every prayer is shared by everyone. We'll say one more prayer. One more song, we will sing one more song, till every song is sung by everyone. We'll say one more song.
Our reading today is We Are Called to Pay Attention by Amanda Eudice Kessler. This morning and all mornings, we're called to pay attention.
We are called to pay attention to our individual lives, to our delights and pains. We are called to understand and cherish ourselves, to take good care of ourselves, to know ourselves as loving and worthy of love. In paying attention to our lives, we give thanks for all that is good in them and work to make the best decisions we can to help us live fully and joyfully.
Today and all days, we are called to pay attention.
We are called to pay attention to the people in our lives, to celebrate their joys with them, and to tend them in their struggles. We are called to bring our compassion, kindness, and patience to our relationships, even as we are grateful for the compassion, kindness, and patience others show to us. In paying attention to the people in our lives. We give thanks for their presence and work to support them to the best of our abilities.
Throughout our lives, we are called to pay attention.
We are called to pay attention to the society in which we live. We are called to understand the ways in which the lives of people we don't know and never will know are made harder by political and economic policies that value some kinds of people over other kinds of people. In paying attention to our society, we give thanks for the many people who are working for justice for everyone, and we join in working with them so that all people are treated with the dignity and worth they possess.
In all that we do, we are called to pay attention.
We are called to pay attention to the natural world around us. We are called to understand how our decisions help the natural world to flourish or cause it harm. In paying attention to the natural world, we give thanks for the ways it sustains and enriches our lives, and we commit to living sustainably so that all beings have the chance to live, and so that many generations after our own can celebrate the planet and its gifts.
Love, compassion, gratitude, and the demands of justice call us to pay attention. As we pay attention, we bless ourselves, each other, our society, and the world. I invite you now into a time of meditation. Place your feet upon the floor if you are comfortable doing so. Close your eyes if you wish, and breathe. Let your breath fall into a natural rhythm. Reverend Rod likes to sing this to the doxology tune. That one. I will simply recite the words. Sometimes our paths intersect with those who we would not expect. Interdependence calls us here to act from love and not from fear.
I've been traveling on a boat and a plane, in a car and a bike and a bus and a train, traveling there, traveling here, everywhere in every gear. But oh Lord, we pay the price with the spin of the wheel and the roll of the dice. Oh yes, you pay your fare, and if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And I've been traveling through the dirt and the grime, from the past to the future, through the space and the time, traveling deep beneath the waves in watery grottos and mountainous caves. But oh Lord, we got to fight with the thoughts in the head and the dark and the light. No use to stop and stare, but if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. You may not know where you came from, you may not know who you are, you may not ever have wondered how you got this far. Well, I've been traveling on a wing and a prayer, by the skin of my teeth, by the breath of a hair, traveling where the four winds blow, with the sun on my face and that ice and the snow. But ooh-wee, well, it's a game. Sometimes you're cool, sometimes you're lame. Oh yeah, it's somewhere, but if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Price with the spin of the wheel and the roll of the dice. Oh yes, you pay your fare, and if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. I keep traveling around the bend, there is no beginning, there is no end. It wasn't born and it never dies, there are no edges, there are no sides. But oh yes, you just don't win, it's so far out the way that out is in. It's ready, where, and minute rice, but if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Hello, everyone. I am Rod Richards, proud and pleased to serve as minister of Unitarian Universalists, San Luis Obispo. And it is my great pleasure to once again be participating in the Great Central Coast Cluster collaboration. Greetings to all of you whenever and wherever you may be viewing this sermon. Be careful crossing the intersection. I remember the trepidation I had as a young child first crossing the street by myself, the street that crossed ours at the end of our block in my then hometown of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Mount Vernon Road. Sounds scary, doesn't it? 4 lanes of traffic, and I remember wondering, would the green light and the walk sign stay lit long enough for me to cross? What if I reached the middle when the light changed? What if a driver just mistook red for green? What if I tripped on the long journey from curb to curb? Okay, I was something of a fearful child, but I remember it as an achievement getting across the street, and the glow of that achievement lasted a while, probably longer than was warranted, until eventually crossing the street became just another routine that filled my days. Preparing for this sermon led me to revisit all that happens at intersections. Although these days my responses are less about fear and accomplishment and are more apt to take shape as frustration or irritation. Why is that? As a pedestrian, I am sometimes irritated by drivers of automobiles who only have eyes for other automobiles. They will be looking down the road, waiting for traffic to open so that they can pull into the intersection. And when the traffic does clear, they are apt to pull out without a glance toward the person, me, who is crossing the street in front of them. This irritation, however, is somewhat moderated by the realization that when I am driving an automobile, I have been known to do the same thing that frustrates me about drivers of automobiles when I am a pedestrian. I have done the sheepish smile, hand wave, mouthing sorry to a pedestrian more than once. It just seems so much more reasonable when I am driving to be focused on other cars, but that doesn't matter. What matters is the awareness of everyone in the intersection. When I am a driver, I sometimes marvel at the obliviousness of pedestrians who are intently examining the screen of their phones or engaging in conversation with a visible companion or a person who is presumably heard through their earbuds as they walk in a carefree manner out into the road with nary a glance to one side or the other. And as I form the question in my mind, who does that? The answer comes to me immediately. Me. I do that. I try to look up at each intersection to be aware of my surroundings, but for me, this is a long-standing practice. Even in the time before cell phones, before Kindles and e-readers, I could be seen as a child and teenager walking the streets of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, reading an actual book. And yes, I raise my eyes at most every intersection, but if I was in the middle of a particularly fascinating paragraph, well, I am grateful for those Iowa drivers at those intersections who noticed me, even as they were shaking their heads in frustration and dismay. But what has come to me amid these reflections is that actual intersections create a wonderful opportunity for understanding interdependence. We humans collectively have agreed upon how we will behave at intersections, obeying the messages on the signs, responding appropriately to the lights, taking turns proceeding at a four-way stop, watching out for people crossing the street, and generally paying attention to those around us. And though we are taught defensive driving, the truth is that the way we move through the world in our cars, on our bikes, on foot is founded on a deep trust in one another. We trust that others are part of this agreement, this covenant we have made with one another about how we will behave at intersections. And I know that there are many unfortunate and all too often tragic exceptions to this agreed upon behavior. People who intentionally flout the rules for whatever reason just this once. People who choose to drive impaired. People who let the circumstances of their personal lives and the urgency of their schedules override the awareness of others. Those things happen too often. But when you think of the number of intersections in the world, one can only marvel at the fact that they don't happen more often. And what this tells me is that we know how to do this, right? We know how to agree upon rules, how to covenant with one another to follow those rules, how to practice awareness of those around us so that we may all be trusting of one another and trustworthy. And it is undoubtedly self-interest, maybe enlightened self-interest, to understand that, yes, I can choose to run stop signs, but not only am I courting danger in the moment, I am also possibly helping to set a precedent and pattern for others. I can run this stop sign, yes, but do I want another driver to run it when I am crossing the intersection? We understand that moving through the world requires us to follow some guidelines, to maintain awareness of others, and to place our trust that others will do the same. And it's not enough to say, yes, I will obey the stop sign unless I'm really late for an appointment. It is not enough to say, I will try to be aware of my surroundings and other people unless I have had a few drinks and I just need to get home. It is not enough to say, yes, I will obey the traffic lights unless I have an emergency. We have tried to build in processes for addressing these exceptions to the rules with emergency vehicles and designated drivers, and simply accepting that sometimes we will not arrive somewhere at the appointed time. But we can't rightly make excuses for behavior that puts others at risk. How we move through the intersections of life in our cars, on our bikes, on foot, in our wheelchairs, with our walkers, however we move is founded on trust and a deep understanding that all of us need all of us to pay attention, to be aware of who is around us, to be especially aware of who may be vulnerable, that child in the crosswalk, that mobility challenged person who doesn't make it across the 4-lane street before the light changes. And we don't make excuses for behavior that puts others at risk. What if we took that understanding of intersectional interdependence into the rest of our lives as individuals, as families, as communities, as countries, as global citizens? We all have places we want to get to. We all start out on our journeys hoping to achieve our own interests. It will feel, and it will be true, that we get in each other's way. It will feel, and it will be true, that the rules of the proverbial road to which we have agreed will get in our way. And still, part of our trust in one another is that we won't make excuses for breaking those rules. It is not enough to say that we will not engage in terrorist acts unless they are on behalf of a righteous cause, in pursuit of justice, or in defiance of oppression, for there is nothing that will justify murder and rape and brutality. It is not enough to say that we will not engage in genocidal acts unless we are responding to terrorist acts in pursuit of security or in hopes of stamping out resistance, for there is nothing that will justify the indiscriminate violence inflicted upon a people. It is not enough to say that we will not engage in acts of torture unless they are in pursuit of security or in defiance of great evil, or when we choose to call it enhanced interrogation methods, for there is nothing which will justify such calculated cruelty. It is not enough to say that we will not engage in environmental assaults unless the payoff is particularly impressive, or the ramifications seem distant, or there is vague promise of a technological solution for whatever problems we cause, for there is nothing which will justify the further degradation of our planet, jeopardizing life in all its forms. We can agree to stop the pattern of inflicting all that we would choose not to suffer, because we do understand that all of us need all of us to abide by the rules of the intersection. Our country, my country, has a credibility problem because we promote the rules of the road for everyone else, but freely violate them ourselves, all for very good reasons. course. This inevitably corrupts a system that is based on trust. When I approach the intersection, I have to trust that everyone is committed to the same rules, has entered into a promise about how we will behave at the intersections of international relations, has accepted that all of us need all of us in order to move with some assurance through whatever lies ahead. And the arms industry and all who profit from it, in my already tortured metaphor, does not mind at all when trust is broken, does not mourn the accidents at the intersection, but rather celebrates them, applauds the lame excuses that countries and leaders give for breaking the rules of the road, because with every accident, there are more vehicles to sell. With every conflict that erupts, there are more weapons to sell to both sides, to every side, more fears to exploit, more mistrust to ignite. What if we could bring the deep awareness of intersectional interdependence into every action, realizing that we quite literally hold one another's life in our hands, striving to be trustworthy as we hold the other person worthy of trust, staying aware of everyone around us, especially those who are most vulnerable. Power, writes Rebecca Solnit, creates a cushion of obliviousness around us. One can't afford to be oblivious at an intersection. It puts everyone at risk. She goes on to write, the unexamined life is not worth living, as the aphorism goes, but perhaps an honorable and informed life requires examining others' lives, not just one's own. Perhaps we do not know ourselves unless we know others. And perhaps we can't seek justice for ourselves unless we know others will be treated justly. And perhaps we can't experience any measure of security unless we know others experience that measure of security in their lives. And perhaps we realize that acting safely means ensuring the safety as best we can of everyone at the intersection. Perhaps we do not know ourselves unless we know others. Perhaps we cannot live our lives without trusting and relying on others. Perhaps we cannot be present to ourselves unless we fully embrace being there for others. And if we do, we know that nobody is nobody, and that all of us need all of us. See you at the intersection. So may it be.
Well, good. I invite you all again to rise in body or spirit as you are able. We'll sing number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in all of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, and our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy our story from deep within, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words. Then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. Then we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith. Then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place.
Please join me in reading the words on the screen as we prepare to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry into our lives until we are together again.
All of you here in the sanctuary today are invited into our hall, Berg Hall, for coffee, tea, bagels, conversation, right after the service. We hope all the visitors will join us there. Please stop by our popular connecting table, where there will be somebody there to chat with you. And nearby that is a welcome table where you can learn more about our church and our denomination. And remember to stop by the UU the Vote table as well. Those of you on Zoom, please stay and join a breakout room for ongoing discussion. And so now, I leave you with the words adapted from Reverend Rod. Spirit of love, meet us at the intersections in our lives. Keep us aware of one another. Someone's crying, Lord. Someone's hurting. Someone's trying. Inspire us to care for one another. Meet us at each and every intersection. Come by here, kumbaya. May it be so.